Ms. Daniels, in a separate civil case, is fighting a 2016 non-disclosure agreement arranged by Mr. Cohen in which she got $130,000 to stop her from discussing her claim she had sex with Mr. Trump a decade earlier, something Mr. Trump has denied. Mr. Hannity, 56, said on Monday that he had never paid for Mr. Cohen's services or been represented by him, but had sought confidential legal advice from him. The conservative host often uses his weeknight broadcast on Fox News to defend the president against what he sees as biased attacks by the media. Sometimes Mr. Trump praises Mr. Hannity in return. Mr. Cohen was in court to ask the judge to limit the ability of federal prosecutors to review documents seized from his offices and home last week as part of a criminal investigation, which stems in part from a probe into possible collusion between Trump's presidential campaign and Russia. Judge Kimball Wood spent more than 2.5 hours listening to arguments by Mr. Cohen's lawyers, prosecutors from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan, and a lawyer representing Mr. Trump in the hearing. She is expected to rule later. She ordered prosecutors to give Mr. Cohen's lawyers a copy of the seized materials before the next hearing. The unexpected naming of Mr. Hannity made him the latest prominent media personality to be drawn into the investigation's cast of unlikely supporting characters. Ms. Daniels sat with her lawyer, Michael Avenatti, who told reporters they were there to help ensure protection for the integrity of the seized documents, some of which they believe pertain to the Daniels agreement. Mr. Cohen, dressed in a dark suit, at times looked tense, folding and clasping his hands in front of him. Mr. Cohen has argued that some of the documents and data seized from him under a warrant are protected by attorney-client privilege or otherwise unconnected to the investigation. But Judge Wood said she would still need the names of those other clients, and rejected his efforts to mask the identity of Mr. Hannity, a client Mr. Cohen had said wanted to avoid publicity. "I understand if he doesn't want his name out there, but that's not enough under the law," Judge Wood said, before ordering the name disclosed. Stephen Ryan, a lawyer for Mr. Cohen, drew gasps and laughter from the public gallery when he named Mr. Hannity as the client. After his identity was revealed, Mr. Hannity said on his syndicated radio show, and again later on his Fox News program, that he had occasional, brief discussions with Mr. Cohen in which he sought out Mr. Cohen's input and perspective. Mr. Hannity said he assumed those discussions were covered by attorney-client privilege, and insisted that none involved any matter between himself and a third party. He also said his talks with Mr. Cohen almost exclusively focused on real estate. Legal advice can be considered privileged even if given by a lawyer for free. Mr. Cohen has asked the court to give his own lawyers the first look at the seized materials so they can identify documents that are protected by attorney-client privilege. But prosecutors want the documents to be reviewed for attorney-client privilege by a taint team of lawyers within their own office, who would be walled off from the main prosecution team. "I have faith in the Southern District U.S. Attorney's Office that their integrity is unimpeachable, making a taint team a viable option," Judge Wood said. But she also said that to help ensure fairness and the perception of fairness, a special master might have some role here. After the hearing, Mr. Cohen left without comment. Ms. Daniels, in contrast, stepped up to the bank of microphones set up on the sidewalk, telling reporters that Cohen had thought he was above the law.